Welcome, everybody, for your Thursday night MCP thing. It's like a blog. It's like a vlog. It's also like a povlog. We're here. It's Wait, Did I Roll a Wild? I am joined by two of my favorite Ds, both the Daniel and the Dylan varieties. How are you all? We have a bunch of stuff to go over tonight. I'm definitely going to ask Dr. D about what he's painted this week. We're going to talk about the Shatterpoint rules. We're going to be talking about Gwenpool and how she's going to be in every list that I make forever going forward. We're going to speculate on how they might introduce the land shark known as Jeff. Whether it'll be a tactics card similar to the Unstoppable Jonathan, or if they'll go a completely different route with it. And we'll dish a little bit about our rosters that we've been building, because guess what? Everyone's just building Hellfire rosters because Hellfire is dope.
Yeah.
In addition to
more dope than Psylocke?
Well, it depends. So like my Hellfire roster is dope because it has a Psylocke, as I'm assuming most other people's do.
Because she's cool.
Aw, Scarlet Widow, thank you for the sub. But first things first, guys, welcome. How have you been? Dan, we haven't seen you in a hot minute. Dr. D, I see you whenever I close my eyes. How are you?
I'm doing a lot better now, sweetie.
Aw.
Oh, man, it makes me smile. I love you.
Well, shuckle my butters. Dan, how have you been, man?
Not too bad. It's weird. It's been like 2 weeks since I've recorded anything other than, oh yeah, the power phase on Tuesday, but I came down to the recording space and all the wires in the same exact spot from when I recorded this. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I was like, that's weird. That is uncommon down here.
It very much is. Well, and just like I've had so much time free on Fridays because we've been off after Adepticon and then travel and stuff like that. So I just sit in your basement alone in the dark every Friday night. I let myself in. I hope that's cool.
I believe it.
It's just, you know what I mean? I was just talking to Chuck. He wasn't even there. But
you can turn a light on it. It's okay.
Yeah, that's super valid. But listen, once again, I didn't want to be a bother, so I just didn't. But
you want to check the audio, Tim. Getting a lot of people saying the D's are too quiet.
Listen, man, I was telling you, turn them up. Turn yourself up, man.
Turn it up.
That should be better.
I don't know how.
But that should be better, I think. Anyway, however, yeah, we have a bunch of stuff to talk about. How about let's start out with that one thing that we always start out with, which is games played and hobby thoughts. Just kidding. Housekeeping first. We got a bunch of stuff to go over real quick. We are running an LVO qualifier this Saturday at the Art Store in Syracuse, New York. It's going to start at 10 a.m. There are some spots left available for it. We have 12 people so far. I'm super excited to see a lot of you that I know in chat are going to be there, and I'm super excited about it. So make sure if you haven't, maybe you want to come by, maybe you just want to hang out, maybe, you just want to see our lovely faces. Well, the place to do that will be the Art Store in Syracuse, New York this Saturday. Next month, May 20th, we are running another LVO qualifier at Bearded Dragon Games and Hobbies. That should be an absolute blast. The last one we ran there, everyone had a very good time. Hope to see a lot of you there. And I think it's the wrong mic. Dylan, pull your mic out. Then there's the Salt City GT. This will be the King Dinger one, boys. So we are going to be running an MCP event at the Salt City GT, also in Syracuse. This will be a 3-day event starting July 7th through the 9th. There will be a big 2-day King Ding Doppeldonger Challenger Standard event to lay your claim on who is the best Brotherhood player in upstate New York. So I'm excited about that. There's tickets available. There will be links in the chat tonight talking about that. In addition to that, Bearded Dragon Games and Hobbies, all that great stuff. Right now, they are running a deal where if you use code PCN Shatterpoint, you'll get 15% off of pre-ordering your Shatterpoint core set. In addition to that, they do have a limited amount of those alt art cards and stuff for the store, that store special edition bundle. There's only 16 of them. I know at least 7 or 8 of them are now sold, so make sure you get in there and get that specific one. It is very clearly labeled over at beardeddragongames.online if you want to pick that up. All right. Now, games played and hobby thoughts. Dan, you and I played a game Tuesday.
Yeah.
Some might say, Dylan, did you play any games this week?
I have not had a chance to play any MCP. No,
And
unfortunately.
what have y'all hobbied? Not specifically limited to MCP.
I turned my house into a home. Is that a hobby?
Oh yeah, actually.
Oh, yeah, you just moved, didn't you?
I no, I've been here for a couple months now. Yeah, it's every single day I try and it's the do a little hobby in an hour a day. So it's mostly just been me building MCP. I had to build another Emma. So this is like Emma number 3 because I did the one that I gave to Jesse on Fury's Finest, the one that I displayed in Chicago, who is can't even use as Emma, and then I had to build another one so I can actually play Emma. Play Emma.
Because the one you had at Adepticon was it's on a medium base, right?
On a medium base, so I've been using her as. Oh no, I have actually played since the last time because I played a new person, so I've been using her as Mr. Sinister because it's legal, right? And you know what? I've actually kind of come around to him. Mr. Sinister is, I don't know. There's like certain things about him that I think he plays a little slow, but I really come to like him. I think he's got
cool.
Got a cool kit.
Yeah, he's like weird.
I think the biggest weakness of him is that his beam costs power. I think if his beam was either free or he had a way to get power other than his strike, I think he would be like a contender. But I just think as fours go, I think he's like handicapped in that regard.
I mean, I think he's great, and I think we talked about this a little last time, where I actually really like him in Red Skull Cabal. For the extra power, especially off of being able to get potentially 2 to 3 power off of that beam, in addition to everything else that it provides. I really like Sinister a lot. I feel like I should use him more, but it's too difficult because I only am running Psylocke and Sentinel Prime in everything that I do.
Yeah, that's very true.
And then other than that, it's just been painting here and there. Oh, I finished Bill. I did finish painting Beta Ray Bill, and I sent him off to Jesse as well. So if you play in his meta, I'm sorry, because you're now a victim of probably some kind of war crime.
Yeah, the Beta Ray William Accords.
Yeah, for sure.
What?
He's too good. Beta Ray Bill is way too good.
He's really good. I like him a lot. Mine's most of the way done. I need to finish up like the blue armor parts. Like he's certainly like table worthy. He's just not done. I haven't got to do much hobby lately. I was on vacation all last week, so I didn't do any hobbying.
Oh, poor guy.
This week, not really, other than not hobbying. No, just that game we played on Tuesday, which was not my finest work.
So, is there a guy that said no hobby for you?
No hobby for you. 1 week.
He shoved all Dan's models like in a paper bag and just like took them away.
No, that sounds awful. Don't even joke about that.
So Dan and I did get to play
Dan Dimmadome.
Owner of the Dimsdale Dimadids. We got to play a game this past Tuesday on the Power Phase, where we stream live every week from Bearded Dragon Games. I was playing Hydra, so I've kind of figured out, and this I'll go into this a little bit later during the Doofus Dojo, but I think I fleshed out the remainder of that roster, or at least a lot more. So I think it is going to be a Hydra, Criminal Syndicate, and Hellfire Club affiliation. Like at the end of the day, I think that's where it's going to be.
I like that a lot.
Because we got the news that the new MODOK is in fact a member of Criminal Syndicate and Hydra, not in Cabal. Unlike the other MODOK, who is not a part of Hydra, this one is, and that really plays very well with what I want to use him for. So I was actually super, super, super excited about that.
Makes you happy.
But Dan, you and I played 18 Threat,
Oh, yeah.
Sword, and Montesi.
Yep.
Tell me about your roster a little bit.
So I brought Hellfire Club. Was my first time using it. Still haven't seen Emma transform on the channel.
That's true.
2 or 3 games she's been in, she just hasn't done it yet. This time it was because Sentinel Prime was spy and didn't allow me to use reactives. But I had Emma, Honey Badger, the Logan, Colossus, and Rogue, and it was one of those where it was like if I had just done a couple things differently, especially earlier on, it would have been better. Like I still scored 15 points. I shouldn't beat myself up too much. Like it ended up being closer than I first thought, but it was just one of those where I couldn't lay out the damage soon enough, and I was taking it like crazy. I think the round 2 you daze 3 characters, and it was like, oh,
Yeah. Yep. Well, and then in the following round, you did the same. It was a pretty bloody game, a lot of injured characters. And the reason Emma never turned into her diamond form was not because of the Sentinel Sleeper agent. I never got damage through on Emma. I never successfully got anything through on her to even trigger it.
that's true. There was at the very end, there was a chance she could have, and then something stopped her.
It was because I can't use reactives on your turn, so I had to
'Cause you didn't
re-roll
do-
to do damage to her because I rolled so
That's
poorly.
what it was. Yeah, she ended the game full power, full strength. But yeah, never got the change, which I'd like to see.
We will see it
Also,
one
when-
day, eventually.
Eventually, it'll happen someday. It'll be a big grandiose thing when it finally happens on the power phase.
Yeah.
But I learned very quickly that Hellfire Club, the leadership is a really difficult one for me because you got to remember to do it once a round. And it's like back in my War Machine days, I would constantly forget to use my Warcaster's feet, which is like massive game changing ability.
Well, that's how
You
they
forget
walk.
to do that, you're shooting yourself in the foot, right? I'm sure. I think Dr. D's played War Machine. He knows what I'm talking about. Like, if you
took
forget
my
to do your
joke.
shooting
took my
yourself in the foot.
Stupid joke. No, he says that's how you walk around, silly.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it was just like I'd be like, oh shoot, I was gonna do it after that activation, but no, I'm not gonna go back and do it because I gotta learn the hard way.
Right,
And I learned
right.
like Honey Badger was a weird one there, but might actually work. It's all dependent on the timing. I think it's one of those. It looks really cool because you can take anybody, but it does take. It certainly takes more practice than like Steve's Avengers. Just happen.
Yeah,
If you want a hard rule that I've kind of come up with as playing them is you're probably going to do it on the last activation on the first turn because you're going to have the maximum amount of people with objective tokens.
Probably, yeah, that makes
So
sense.
you do it after that, and then whoever your first activation is in the first round is probably going to activate it.
It's like
Yeah, that makes
AOS
sense. That's
double
kind of a good way
turns.
to
Like
do
you end the round with it, and
Yeah.
then you hope to start with it the following round.
Even if you don't go first the next round, it more than likely if the person you're playing against is anybody that plays against me and rolls 17 successes on a 4 dice attack, and your character is obliterated, it's not like they're going to get
Yeah,
the
that
penalty
happens.
anyway because they're not going to have no token and they can't feel anymore. They can't. Mr. Band-Aid took all his pain away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
excited
you're
to give
probably
it-
going to do it pretty early on in the turn, though.
I'm excited to give it another chance, another go. I'm probably bringing Hellfire Club Saturday to the Art Store tournament, but I might be changing my mind and get some more reps under my belt so I don't go in there a complete noob.
So speaking of just kind of Hellfire Club in general, right? So we're all currently loving, at least is my assumption, and playing Hellfire Club,
Because
because
plans on playing it too.
right. So depending on now, granted, a little bit more popular it seems like than Dormammu when he first came out to have that like I can take whoever I want. This isn't the first time we've seen that, but this is certainly one that I think a lot of people are diving into. Do we think that we will see in general a lot more, especially like on Longshanks and stuff, 2, 3, potentially 4 affiliations wide as people throw in Emma, just kind of as a backup? Or are there tactics cards that would require that don't make that as nice of a splash?
I think it's a foregone conclusion we're going to see Emma a lot. Especially, I'm sure, I don't remember if it was the team on the stream when you were at Adepticon, but somebody had a team that was made entirely of leaders.
Yeah.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, every single character was an affiliation leader. I
like
think
that
it
a
was,
lot.
I forget what, I think it was an Avengers team, I think is what he ran, though.
I think so too.
So I think this would make a
Sounds
fine
familiar.
addition to an all leader to an all leader built team roster. Yes, I think you're going to see a lot of her.
I do too, and I'm all about it. I mean, she has clear strengths and flaws, right? So it's not like it's going to be an overwhelming presence, but I think it's going to be a presence that kind of allows people to, especially at certain threats with certain affiliations, throw her in and be like, listen, I need these characters to perform these tasks. And that doesn't necessarily fit with the overall directive of being, John and humans. But you have You have Emma in there to kind of pick up the slack for you.
Plus, with her being in Brotherhood, you're
Yeah.
gonna see her all the time because people only play Brotherhood, especially at this event coming up. Who's gonna prove who's top Magneto?
I'm just happy to be here, man.
Yeah, me
But
too.
if we take a look actually at that Longshanks, let me bring that up.
Goody.
Let's see what the
Longshanks.
affiliation breakdown is going to be turning out to at the art store this weekend. You may be surprised to hear this, but I only see one Brotherhood. Now, that's going to be Keebler, but Ben, his roster is hidden currently, so that could be anything, even a Brotherhood boat. But
I could be a boat.
if we look around, we see some Guardians. That's going to be Evan from the 5th Trooper. We see a Shield roster. Dan's Hellfire and X-Men, which you said you might be Hellfire and X-Force, or I'm sorry, Weapon X.
Yeah, it should be Weapon X. I clicked the wrong one. Oh, apparently.
We have a Web Warriors player. Otis is repping the OGs with the Sentinel.
The Sentinels? Yeah.
And then Alyssa with the Inhumans. I mean, I think we'll actually see a pretty diverse cast, which I'm pretty stoked for, to be perfectly honest.
How do I change that?
How do you think Otis does it, walking around with a brain as big as his? You think he can see?
You know what? Like I said, I think on stream Tuesday, watching Otis play Sentinels at Everwinter with Cable in there made me like, yo, I kind of like that though. Actually kind of really like that though.
Yeah, I liked that squad he brought that time a lot.
So yeah, I'm that turned me on to Sentinel Prime, and I have not given up since. Once Brian broke that chopstick and it became a decree, I was like, listen, this is someone else's shtick, but I am absolutely going to steal it. It'll just be slightly different, just slightly different, because I have in fact stopped running Sentinels as the actual affiliation. It's now just Sentinel Prime everywhere, and I got to make him a member of Hydra this week. I think he was very happy about that. Not only that, I tried to give him a Mystic attack, but unfortunately, he is not 3 threat or less, which is the only people you can make those. Scientific Method, I think, is the tactics card that gives him the 2 extra defense dice and the Mystic attack. But
Yeah, you're real close to cheating there.
I was actually incredibly close to cheating there. But let's head over a little bit to the other character that is now going to be featured in every one of my rosters, and in 2023, the year of the incredible 4 threats, makes my list building significantly more difficult. And that is going to be with Miss Gwendolyn Poole, also known as Gwenpool.
Who?
So you can see she is up on the screen here. I am, once again, so excited for this character. We got this spoiled a little bit at Adepticon during that studio reveal. And she is kind of very much a wombo combo of Hydra Bob, huge up there for me, as well as Deadpool. And to think that she's only 1 threat higher in cost than Deadpool is pretty astounding when we see what her total toolkit is. So
She looks really good.
just to go over the basics incredibly quick, she is 3-4-3 for defenses, which is solid.
4-3-4.
That's what I said. Did I say 3-4-3?
Yeah.
you sure did.
So just
Flipped it
continue that
around.
pattern and then cut off the first number and you're good to go there. It's one of those like 3rd grade math problems. What's the next number in the sequence? 6 stamina on both sides, 4 threat, size 2 medium mover. Her builder is a physical attack called Stabby Swords, range 2, strength 5, 0 power. After this attack is resolved, the character gains power equal to the damage dealt, and Pierce on a wild. She's pretty much Wolverine already.
All right.
How about, I don't care who tells me about it, but I would really love for someone to tell me about Gwenpool's bag of tricks.
Age before beauty, Dan.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know if that works
but-
in either direction here.
I was like, wait, what? She's got a bag of tricks. She's going to throw stuff at you. Range 4, strength 4. Does not cost any power. It is a gainer, so she gains 1 power after resolving this attack. And then with a wild and a hit, she gets the Gwenpool special. After this attack is resolved, the defending character gains one of the following special conditions: bleed, shock, incinerate, or poison. She could do incinerate. Awesome. I love her.
Right? Same here. And I've been getting a lot more work and mileage out of Shock recently. So I don't hate that that's there. Obviously, she can apply poison, which makes her, not as good against all of the 6 threats that are immune to it. But, I mean, it's still pretty solid.
What is that a reference to in the comics? This bag.
I don't know. I think she just has a bag of dope stuff. She's just like pulling out. She has like a bag of holding. I think that's actually not really a bag of holding. She just pulls out Deus Ex Machina items all the time.
So it's like full of licorice and like fruit snacks.
Yeah, it's pretty much Batman from the Adam West's utility belt. It's like, oh yeah, I have my shark repellent spray. Like,
I think it might represent her knowledge of all the different heroes and villains' like weaknesses and things.
yeah,
Maybe is how she inflicts those status conditions. I've actually never read a comic with Gwenpool in it, but from what I've read about her, that kind of makes sense there.
she's definitely canonically dopers McGopers. I actually kind of dig a little bit too that the Gwenpool special is on a wild and a hit. It's still pretty likely that could happen if you're rolling a wild. Like the difference between just having the wild trigger and the wild and hit, I don't think is massive, but certainly enough for a range 4 strength to make it still a little zany, right?
And I think it's certainly worth it at range 4. That's pretty big.
And
I wonder if that places it around like a 50% chance of it going off.
Yeah, I would think so. It's got to be.
I think with
might
the
be-
wild,
might be
it's
Leslie-
like 60 something.
Yeah,
There's 1 wild and 2 hits, so it's 25% chance to roll a hit, and then a wild's 12 and a half.
and a permutation on 2 dice.
Am I doing that right?
Or you need
yeah,
one of both.
and then you gotta. So it's somewhere between those two.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast where we use the word permutation unironically. Welcome to science
call it-
class.
Let's call it 20% just for funsies.
I really like stats, so permutations, especially when going over dice and stuff, are actually a very important method of figuring a lot of that out. But
There's definitely math to figure out what exactly the chances are of that going off, but I think I'm gonna guess it's around 20%. I don't really know.
I'm gonna guess it's a permutation is the thing that we would use to figure it out.
Oh, that makes sense. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
But and I think that's a really good list of special conditions that she can apply as well. So no stun, no slow, but shock and incinerate are dope, like really good. You get a lot of mileage out of them. Poison can be, especially if you're, yeah.
Poison can be
just an option.
potentially like crippling if you put it on
Yes.
the right person.
Mm-hmm. And then bleed is one of those that either does nothing or decides major things.
Yep.
Or blade is just like.
Well, and very specifically, Dan, at some point, maybe you should run, like, legitimately, and write a blog about it or something, too. Run a all bleed list, because you so regularly leave characters on one left.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right?
OP
Just-
status.
Lean into it. Be like, this is no longer a, whatever you call it. Not a deformity. Very much not that. This is no longer...
No, it's not a bug. It's a feature.
Yes, working as intended. We did it because we
God, I
have
love
bleed, and we
that
want the
so
bleed to
much.
work.
Chat, help me out making a bleed roster. My first thought is to go Midnight Suns with Blade because he loves it. It doesn't have to be, but yeah, let's build a bleed roster for my Doofus Dojo.
The big problem with Midnight Suns is that Blade is the only person in it that I think causes bleed.
Right, but now you
For
have
real,
Immortal
it's-
Hulk in
I've
there.
tried it before and it doesn't work in Midnight Suns.
Yeah,
So let's include Blade in the roster, but make it Hellfire Club.
because he's in Avengers, I think.
Is he?
I forget. I think Blade is in Avengers.
Uh,
I can check. Yeah, read the next.
Remember.
Read the next thing, Danny boy. I'll look that up.
who?
Danny boy.
He is Avengers Defenders
In
Midnight
Avengers.
Suns.
Yeah, he's an Avenger.
Also, can we just
Alright.
talk real quick? We talked about MODOK very briefly, but that Immortal Hulk is a Midnight Sun.
Who?
Right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Immortal
Who
Hulk
is
is a
Hulk?
Midnight Sun and a Defender.
Yeah.
Those are the only affiliations he belongs in, and to is Defenders and Midnight Suns.
Gotta say,
So-
happy to be here.
That's
Hey,
good.
what's that? That big spender there do, Dan?
It's a big spender. Doesn't cost a ton of power.
Great
but this
range.
end toward target. Her bazooka here makes her similar to Bob, Tim was referencing earlier. It's also range 4, strength 8. Again, for 4 power. After this attack is resolved, the target character gains Incinerate and Stun. I'm already sold on this. Also, on a wild, she gets Scorched Earth. Before damage is dealt, all other characters within 2 of the target suffer 1 damage and gain the Incinerate special condition.
Could be noted, not the Helios laser doing additional damage to the target.
Right.
Yeah, all
well, that
other
was
characters.
sweep and
Just to
clear.
clarify. Yes.
Yeah, this is crazy good.
It's
Um,
probably too
I do-
good. Honestly, I think this is it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think what brings the power cost down on it is that all other characters, not all other enemy characters,
Oh
take
yeah.
1 and get incinerated. So like this end towards target, not your friends. Otherwise, you're gonna hurt them too.
I was on House Party Protocol last week, and Will was talking about how Baron Mordo, he hates Soul Bard because it doesn't apply anything, so he always has to apply something first to be able to spread it, and it's really a pretty heavy commitment. But now, Gwenpool just applies that Incinerate, which is what you want to use Soul Barb for anyway, probably, just to everyone all the time, forever.
Right? She's an incinerate machine. Like her and Pyro are really gonna get along.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, and the really cool thing, too, is that it's before damage is dealt on that wild, right? So when you're doing that additional damage to other people around you, there could be some neat effects there that could get around some affiliation abilities like A-Force, where you can only trigger some of those things once a turn, and that could kind of scoop around those, just whoop, get around it. As far as
you have to make that noise too.
yes, you do. Well, that is actually what was the Sentinel sound we had to make? Yeah, bloop. We got to remember our shtick better sometimes.
It was the sound of them getting back up or something.
So yeah, that's right.
That's exactly what it was. Yes, I do
They're
remember
online
this.
and operational with their bloop. But this end towards target. Yeah, so travel. There's a lot of T's in this, so it's not quite the tippy toe token alliteration that they had, but this end towards target followed by travel through gutter space does have a lot of T's. That's 5 T's and only 8 words. That's a great ratio. So for 2 power, she does have this active superpower, which, if this character is now holding an objective token, incredibly important, she can be placed within 3 of her current position.
Within 3! It's so far!
For only
She's a
2
spider
power.
person.
It's so good!
Mhm.
It's exactly like the web swing, except for the objective thing.
Except she hops in a hole and pops out somewhere else.
It's a peekaboo. She's like the Spot.
Yes! Speaking of, I
Really, yeah.
saw the trailer for the new Into the Spider-Verse movie, and the Spot seems like he's going to be pretty prevalent in it, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Very
It
excited.
looks so good.
Next up, we have Retcon Powers Activate. This is why she's going to be in my Oops All Rerolls forever. Thanks, Nate GG. This is a Spend X. You can spend up to 3 during the modified dice step of an attack or a defense when she is attacking or defending. You can spend up to 3, and then for each power spent, she can re-roll 1 of its attack or defense dice. It's very similar, if not the exact same thing, some might say, to what Psylocke has, just called something else. But like it a lot.
She
Like it a
doesn't know
lot.
karate, but she can change the results of things.
Correct. She does have to pay for it. Deadpool doesn't. But listen, when you can do it up to 3 times a turn, super great. Plot armor, also an invulnerability, reducing the amount of damage suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1. With
did not see
retcon
that
powers
coming.
activate, and high defense, and an okay amount of stamina. She's not only going to be all over the place, super mobile, applying Incinerate all over the place as well on both builders and spenders, or gainers and spenders. Heavy rerolls and vulnerability. She's dope. I thought Psylocke was dope, and she is. But Gwenpool is right up there with her. Out of this box, she's the one
Really
I'm
good.
incredibly excited for.
You forgot the most important part of this, and that's Gary Daniels III. The art on this card is phenomenal. I love the engine.
It's so
It
great.
really is.
Jeff is adorable in both pictures.
I can't wait to see what kind of Tactics card we get for Jeff, because come on.
There's
There's gotta be
right, 'cause
something.
The
He's
card
not
doesn't
included on
even
her
mention
character
him
card.
at
Yeah,
all.
she's not there.
Gotta
She's
be a
got to
card.
have a tactics card. I hope it's. I don't know what Jeff does other than be adorable in the comics. So maybe it's something like that. Like he's so cute, you lose attack dice against her or something. I don't know, but oh, I can't wait because I love Jeff.
It's gonna have something to do with incinerating something somehow.
He's gonna do more
So-
bleed because he bites you.
Yeah.
I got 2 long shots on this for what this tactics card is going to be. I think a lot of people is like, oh, she has a little companion, and they're going to think Honey Badger immediately. But they're thinking Honey Badger in the wrong way. Because guess who could bite ankles better because they're lower to the ground than Honey Badger? A land shark.
The spot.
I think you'll be able to put a token on the ground, and it will reduce the amount of defense dice that other characters within one around that token roll. I think it'll be tactical ankle biter.
I like that a lot.
That's fair. Actually, you know what? That's a good point in the chat. I gotta call that out. Logan gets a motorcycle, but she doesn't get her little moped thing in the kit.
All right, right
Yeah,
now,
scooter.
this is a plan coming together. The reason I asked for so many motorcycles was so that we can give Gwenpool the ride that she is due, and that is Wolverine's motorcycles. I think I have 5 of them.
Easily
And he stole from
convert that
Cycle.
model to have her like jumping off the motorcycle
Mhm.
with the bazooka and Jeff going on for a joyride. Easy peasy.
I think it would just occupy so much space on the board. It would be so obnoxious.
Put her on a large
Motorcycle's not
base.
that big.
Can you imagine that? Her on a large or a medium base because she's on that motorcycle with travel through gutter space, like just really slingshotting
my
all
goodness.
over the place. Should probably put a place within one off of her stabby swords or her Gwenpool's bag of tricks too. But
Oh, you don't need to wildly speculate. We have her card.
fair, valid.
True. Yeah, that's true.
No,
I
on
wonder
her.
why, Dan, you don't know that. How do you know that they're not going to change her before she comes out in like 3 weeks?
I mean, we don't have her tactics card, so she could have something there. She could have like a scooter scoot. You know,
Like a shield, like a
hyper-drill.
personal shield mobile.
Her
Yeah.
her box comes with 3 cards, right? So you figure brace for impact. There's probably 1 for Squirrel Girl and
He got me with that one, but
1 for her.
I was
I
drinking.
got it with the drink, yeah.
Yeah.
I think honestly, if there was a character that was going to get 2 cards, it probably would be her, as long as they don't do a reprint. Because I still think that Squirrel Girl's card is probably going to be Monkey Joe.
Mhm.
Since he's
What
not
is
mentioned in the-
that?
You
It's
got her
Squirrel
other
Girl's
squirrel.
her other squirrel. Yeah. By the
Monkey
way,
Joe?
the episode I wasn't on here for, you kept saying he for Tippy Toe. Tippy Toe's a girl, you big silly Billy. Monkey Joe
Oh,
is
I
the
didn't
boy.
know that.
Which
Well,
one of us
maybe
was saying that? Who do we
clearly.
get to blame?
That was Dan.
Okay, good. It wasn't me.
So Dan is not John PCN. Not only is he not John PCN, he's also now not John PCN.
In my
Ah.
defense, the only comic I've read with Squirrel Girl in it was Wolverine when she gave Honey Badger
Oh yeah, the
Jonathan.
new Wolverine. Yeah, the new Wolf. That's such a good book.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it is all new Wolverine. Yeah.
That's so good. That's when I think when Laura takes over. Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
comic
her
book
as Wolverine,
recommendation. Make sure you read all new Wolverine. It's amazing.
That's a good one.
It is a great bit, right? Where Squirrel Girl finds a Wolverine and is like, well, I can talk to squirrels, so that must mean Wolverine can talk to Wolverines. So
It's
let's
really
go
good.
let's go deliver this Wolverine because they'll be best friends, obviously.
And just, I love Honey Badger's personality in the comic. She's hilarious.
There was a bit where her and Deadpool were teamed up in a hospital fighting a
Mhm.
zombie sloth,
Yep.
and it was very good, very
But
good.
they're like getting charged at by one of them, and they get something like out of a vending machine or something.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where Deadpool is done perfectly in the books, where he's not like overdoing it with the
Mhm.
weirdness that they've been doing with him lately. It's like Deadpool at its finest.
Yes. Yep. Well, and a very good pairing there too, especially for somewhat of an anti-hero that's trying to do good but just can't find himself in the positions to be able to actually perform said good.
Mm.
But yeah, I really dig it. Where does she fit for you guys? And obviously, as we all know, if you say Avengers, that makes Taylor now John PCN.
I mean, I can live with that.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! It's all gonna come crumbling down. Oh no! So here's my opinion of her card. I have to get this out of the way before I can like say the teams. I think Gwen is like really, really good.
Yeah.
I think that they could have gone like a super wacky direction with her, which would have been really cool. But they went really safe, which again is whatever. But it's essentially like the character strikes me as, okay, here's a character. What 3 abilities do we know are really good? Let's staple it to the card. Okay, let's say it's Gwenpool, and then put her out. So it's like she's super solid in like so many different ways. I think honestly, you could probably put her in anything. Like she's a really, really great splashable 4.
Yeah, even a boat.
Yeah.
You could even put her in a
could
boat.
put her in a
Like you
boat.
could be driving around in a boat, and the wake coming up, smacking you in the face. The splash, you could say, is all Gwen.
I just watched a show last night with a sweet land boat. It was awesome.
Sweet land boat. Sweet.
Ah.
Was it that episode of Family Guy where they're all celebrating having a boat, and like John or Joe is like driving, like doing donuts in his yard
Yeah.
in the boat?
That's where it could be anything. It could be a boat joke comes from.
Yeah,
was that
yeah.
episode of Family Guy. But no, it wasn't that. I don't want to spoil it because it was a really cool reveal. But what affiliations do we think she's going to be part of? We haven't seen hers yet.
I can only see Avengers, but then she's probably going to be in Midnight Suns with the current affiliation givings. for some
Does
reason.
she fit in A Force?
Yes.
Is
You
that
think
like?
so?
Does she have
I
it?
think
Like, does
so.
she? Has she spent time with them in the comics? I'm not sure.
So,
Um,
very specifically this morning, I was looking on Facebook, and there is a series of like pages where she explains the characters in Marvel, where she's like, "Oh, these characters were like characters made in the '60s that were made to be like sex symbols," and then like these are the characters that were just like pretty to look at, but now they have character development. So she literally has like every female character in Marvel on a beach, and they're all wearing like swimsuits and stuff. So I'm assuming she knows all of them.
right.
She got all of them on a beach in one moment.
So, and we've talked about this a little bit before, right? That there is one particular affiliation that she was a part of, which was the mercenary organization dedicated only to killing.
Yes.
Well, we still haven't seen her card.
What?
Maybe she'll be the leader.
So she might be Cabal or Hydra or Criminal Syndicate.
Or Weapon X or X Force, all
Weapon
all
X?
things.
Weapon
Yeah, because they're
X.
all designed for killing.
Why would she be in Weapon X?
Because-
she's not even a mutant.
Whoa!
She ain't got no powers, Lieutenant Dan.
There's there's characters in Weapon X that aren't mutants. Hydra Bob,
Name
for instance.
13.
Wolverine isn't designed to
Definitely
kill.
not in Weapon X.
Oh, he's an X
He's
Force. My bad. I get those
designed to
mixed up.
He's designed to hug.
He's not even in X Force.
But she's also been a part of the Young Avengers and the West Coast Avengers, so I do think that obviously Avengers will be a no-brainer.
Avengers is a good fit. Okay, that makes sense.
And
So
another character to add to the list of Young Avengers when we do eventually, hopefully one day in my heart of hearts and dream of dreams, when we go to Adepticon next year and they reveal all 5 of someone else's favorite characters, maybe it'll be the Young Avengers for me next time.
I only got 3 of my favorite. Well, Lockheed too, I guess.
Yeah. But
I think she's pretty much future proof for every single Avengers team.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna be an A Force. I just don't see it. Like A Force is just not like a big thing in the books.
I don't know
Yeah,
a lot about it.
I don't
Except
disagree.
like it was a legitimate question.
Yeah.
I don't know if she would be or not. Alyssa says she wouldn't put her in A Force. I don't know if she means like she wouldn't field her with A Force or if she doesn't feel like she fits with the stories in A Force or not.
Well, it's one of those ones that's hard for both her and Squirrel Girl, right? Like, as far as where do you put them? I think Defenders you could have an argument there that sometimes the Defenders has also kind of been a catch-all, and it seems like they're leaning into Defenders a little bit recently to be the second catch-all outside of Avengers, but who knows?
I just don't understand. They keep trying to fix Defenders, but just give them a card. Just give them a
Give 'em
couple
tactics cards.
Their roster is fine. Defenders has a great roster. They need a new leader, but
Isn't
yeah, their
Portals...
Defenders are fine.
Is Portals a Defenders only?
The only card that is specifically Defenders is the Portals one, but all the other Doctor Strange cards are just Doctor Strange and or Wong, I think.
I couldn't
But
remember.
anyway,
if I-
to
I
answer
like
your
her-
okay, go ahead, Dan.
Just same time there. I was gonna say real quick. I like her in Brotherhood just to pair her with Pyro in affiliation because she can throw out Incinerate relatively easily between the 2 different attacks. That will power him up a bit, and then he can spread it, and then he can make people drop objectives and all that. So I like her there.
Dr.
She
D's
doesn't have
just
any
happy
way
to
to
be here.
destroy terrain, but
Um, but yeah, I think.
I think I'd put her in Web Warriors because I think she's got a
Yeah.
lot of useful things for them. Unfortunately, I think the thing that might kick her out of that is just the fact that she can't swing with the token.
Yeah,
But she's fast. I mean, it gives her speed.
I think that to kind of piggyback off of what Dan said before with the spender as well, where the wild trigger affecting all characters instead of just enemy characters, kind of putting that into line a little bit more as far as the cost, which initially seems low. I think the same thing there with that through with that place where it is if you're not holding an objective only, so it does kind of bring that into alignment a little bit. And I think we've seen that with a bunch of the releases, especially some of the 4 threats this year, where there are some things there that are like, hey, this is like this other really kind of incredibly powerful ability, but there is a caveat there or something that makes it different that just kind of brings that down a little bit and kind of curves some of those edges, which I kind of like to see just as a whole.
Even thinking about it, looking at her card more and more, I've come to the realization that I think she's going to be like we were kind of off mic. We were talking about I think we were off mic talking about Daredevil, where like Daredevil's big issue is, or one of his issues is that he can't really generate power. I think Gwenpool might kind of be in a similar situation, except she has the gainer.
Yeah,
Where having a range 2 builder is tough. It's surprisingly tough. Like I think it's another one of those Rhino situations where it's like once she gets enough power to consistently be able to do the gutter space thing, she'll probably be fine. Just you gutter space, double attack, boom, probably at least get 2 power from it, especially with a Pierce. And then you just go to the next target. So I think, like thinking about it more and more, I think like a Cabal, any of the leaders that give power, so Hydra or Cabal in this case.
Inhumans.
Yeah, and she'd probably be okay in Inhumans. But I think
Actually,
she'd really benefit those.
I like her
I
new
like her
MODOK Crime
Guardians
Syndicate.
too, with winging tokens to get those triggers more
Oh,
often
yeah.
because she's got a lot of wild triggers. Get anything that rerolls, Shadowlands, even X-Force to a degree. Just something that gives her rerolls to get those triggers more often. I think will make her shine even more.
And that's why someone said it in chat earlier. Actually, Alyssa, potentially. I really like her in the new Crime Syndicate with MODOK as the leader, because that trigger on the Bag of Tricks goes from whatever we said, 50% of the time to probably 70% of the time. As long as you roll a single wild, you can turn a blank or a block or something into a hit with that affiliation if she's holding an objective to make that be popping off significantly more often.
I don't know. I still feel like, she's filling that 4 threat slot. It's competitive. I have a feeling that
some may say more competitive than ever.
Yeah, I would say so. Could you imagine if they released only 4 threats for an entire year? What that would do with that slot? Man, it'd be really cramped in there.
Oh, so we get a 4 threat Iceman? I'm okay with that.
He doesn't come out till next year, you big silly.
They said end of the year.
That's the year of the 8th
end
threat.
of next year. You pretty much have to wait a year and a half.
I think
longest time from reveal to release, specifically Iceman. That'd be very sad.
I don't know. For some, I just keep looking at the gainer, and I just don't like the odds on that trigger. I just don't like it. And like I think with MODOK, the MODOK leadership, I think other characters are really going to benefit from it a lot more. I think any character that has any kind of like wild trigger, right, is probably going to be pretty happy. But any of the characters that get 2 successes when you roll a wild, so Doc Ock, who's still not Criminal Syndicate, even though everybody thinks he is for some reason.
Yep.
I
try to spend power on. Same with Zemo. I try to spend power on both of those characters all the time for all according to plan.
I think Gambit is going to be like permanently stapled to that MODOK because they are best friends forever.
They really are.
And I can't think of any. I think there's at least one other character that has like multiple successes on wilds. I think they're really going to like him.
Gamora. I think with her it was a Cosmic Assassin or something like that. That when she rolls a wild, she can and Valkyrie as well. Can you double dip on those or no?
You definitely can.
Because I mean, let's Gamora.
Because Warrior of Legend and you have to pay for, but I think Gamora's is free. I think.
Oh gosh, so I guess it doesn't really work for Gamora because she already turns one die result to a hit. So I guess it would be two per wild, assuming they can in fact both happen.
I don't think Gamora gets two. Oh, but yeah, but she can switch it to a hit. I don't think. Yeah, I guess it's like a similar thought process, but I don't think that's exactly how it works.
Yeah,
Either way, whatever.
but it would
I
cool
think
to see Val come back into play a little bit more regularly as well.
dude, Valken, the new Hellfire, I think is amazing because it fixes her like power generation issue with the change in her throw. I think it was the throw that got changed.
Yeah,
Cost-wise.
Is that what it was? Did it used to cost two?
Shit, they changed two things on her. I think it was either the char. I don't think it was the charge. It was either the throw.
It was the flurry
The
on
flurry
dragon.
on dragon thing
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
added,
flurry.
and he's a crit and a wild,
Yep, that's right.
which is rough. And I don't think they changed her throw because it's 3 power.
It used to be size 3.
I knew there was something there where it either
Ah.
used to be size 3 or it used to be 2 power. It was one of those. Like it got a small shift.
Yeah, it used to be size 3. I don't know. Valkyrie's not one of those characters. Like I sometimes forget that 3 threats are still in the game, right? It's so long since we've seen one, but I think Valkyrie's still like a really great 3. Again, test them. You know, good job AMG. As I have my little weird brain stroke there, a lot of the character designs from the early characters, some of them still just really hold up.
You heard it here first from Dr. D's own mouth. Great job, John AMG.
Good job.
Keep up the
Johnny.
There's
good work.
just so many characters now that someone that shines so brightly back in the day when Valkyrie was in every roster
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you don't see her as much now. I think partly because there's like closing in on 150 characters now that we just see, the newer stuff shines for a while and then people kind of get used to it or get bored of it and switch out different things. Anything that can breathe life into old characters like Valkyrie that
Mhm.
are kind of like past their prime in a way, I'm all for.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. And I think that's one of the things that the game usually does pretty well is you see some older
Mhm.
characters sometimes come back online in a pretty heavy, appreciable way after a new character release. But yeah, I think just to kind of reiterate, I do think Squirrel Girl and Gwenpool, I'm very curious to see where they end up because it might not be many places at all.
I feel like it shouldn't be. They're relatively new characters that haven't been in a lot of different teams or anything, so I think their affiliation list should be pretty short.
I think they're both 4s. I keep wanting to say Squirrel Girl's a 3. I don't know. I feel like you might see Squirrel Girl more. I think it kind of, again, I think it's really hard to say until the character cards come out because
Because
it's gonna be their next superpower, right?
We
They're
have
both gonna have one more superpower.
right. We have not seen a 3 threat this year, correct?
No, the last ones were the Brotherhood ones.
Oh, so it was right before the new year, I guess, because those
It
were
was-
December, if I recall, because I remember them being there
December,
right before
November.
Everwinter. But yeah, so we've seen 4s, 5s, and 8s, or was it 7? Immortal
7
Hulk.
was Hulk.
7. Hulk is 7.
4, 5, 8. Oh yeah, 4, 5, 7. Immortal Hulk's heaven, as they say. But the other big thing that we
Right.
got to see this week was the Shatterpoint Rules document.
The whole rule book.
The whole gosh dang rule book. So now we know all sorts of things. We know what each one of the icons mean, which there are several between pinned, exposed, strain, disarm, heal, character, range, advance, dash, jump, climb, hunker, active ability, reactive ability, innate ability, tactics ability, identity ability, melee range, shove, damage, reposition, and force.
Okay, what was the
What?
5th one? What was the 5th one?
The 5th one was heal.
Okay.
I finally know what the expertise dice do. I read that part.
Right. And I think like actually very specifically, there's a lot going on here. I did a teaching game today for MCP, and it was from probably the best Legion player in the world, in his own words. But it's
Was it John Legion?
it was John, 5th Trooper, and and because he's going to be coming to the event on Saturday, and I think some people kind of misconstrued MCP because he was like, "There's actually a lot going on here. This is a lot to throw at someone at once. I'm probably not going to be ready to play on Saturday after just one teaching game." I was like, yeah, there's a lot of levels of this when you're adding tactics cards and affiliation abilities and this, that, and the other thing, and there's all these status effects. And I think we're going to see the exact same thing for Shatterpoint as well, and that's actually something that I really, really, really like, where we have these abilities that kind of pull a little bit of the DNA from Legion, a little bit of the DNA from MCP, and has its own take on a bunch of those things. Between the tokens, hunker and cover kind of working in different ways, as well as a lot of the different conditions between strain, disarm, exposed, and pinned. Um, those don't seem MCP like to me at all. They do seem somewhat Legion like, between like having what is it, focus and then pinning things down. I believe that is in fact a status condition, or pinning fire or whatever, or suppression. I think is what I was thinking.
Suppressed in Legion.
Um,
I think on the surface, Shatterpoint looks a little more complex just because looking at the character cards, you have the, what's it called, the combat tree and also the expertise charts, which I think will flow perfectly fine once you get used to the game. But I think on surface value, it looks more complex, just because Crisis Protocol was designed to look relatively simple. I don't want to say simple because I feel like that's often seen as like
I think elegant.
demeaning in games.
obtainable.
Elegant. I like it's very obtainable.
Super obtainable.
But I think it is a deceptively deep game where there's a lot to it without it being overwhelming.
I completely agree, and there's some things that have been boiled down to, not boiled down, but there's some things that have been simplified. Movement, for instance, where there's only two movement types. There's jumps and there's advances, and you don't have short, medium, and long. All pushes and shoves are done with the range 1 token. I do think using the range 1 similar to MCP is very useful. Having the 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just the side of all of them is range 1. The shove tool actually just being super dope. I hope they sell that separately, so we can use them in MCP and stuff like that too, especially seeing how close you are to objectives and things like that. I think would be incredibly useful.
Yeah, that angle on it looks like actually very useful.
Right. But yeah, and the difference between having directed effects applying immediate benefits like shoves and jumps, and also applying special conditions like exposed or pinned. I think there's a lot going on, and I'm really excited that it seems like, and well, actually from our interview with Schick as well, that multiple versions of the same character at different snapshots. I mean, from the get-go, they've shown that, like, hey, we're going to have two Ahsokas. They were announced kind of at the same time. That you're going to be able to see the same character, like, base work in a lot of different ways based on where in their career they are. And I think that's really cool.
Like, we'll have General Kenobi and maybe Old Man Kenobi later on.
Yeah.
Which sounds awesome.
Like, there could be an ability that older Obi-Wan Kenobi has where you can't target other droids, right? Because they aren't the droids you're looking for.
That's real good.
So I mean, really, the
This
sky,
is why you're John. This is why you're John, PCN.
right? But was there anything from what you guys saw, at least briefly, in this rules document, which really does a very good job illustrating how force pushes and capture wires pushes and pulls and cover and stuff work? I think they learned a lot maybe from MCP and being able to illustrate that in a very clear way so that there's a visual representation of it on some of those pages that just really illustrate well how those particular mechanics work.
I think everything is very elegantly displayed on the pages and everything. Like, I don't have any. Everything I read made perfect sense to me. I'm sure once you start playing, something will like come up randomly where you're like, oh, okay, this is a weird fringe case. But I think it's a very well put together book. I haven't had a chance to like dive through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But everything I've read is I've been pretty super impressed with.
Well,
The
then,
book itself is very pretty.
I love the snippets too.
I was gonna say.
with Ahsoka there, just little like clarifications, like, hey, just because it says it can be used any time doesn't mean literally any time, which is something you see in most rule books. But I like the little character they add to it. Also, doesn't hurt. Ahsoka's my favorite Star Wars character, but I
I thought it was Iceman.
like that. If he was in Star Wars, sure.
All right.
Yeah, when are they gonna put Hulk in Star Wars?
Or which I think that's not the question. I think the important question is which Hulk are they going to be putting in Star Wars?
Oh,
Probably Joe
Green
Fix it.
Scar.
Is this really where we see the perfect trifecta of 3 major licenses, both Warhammer, Marvel, and Star Wars, where they have a Hulk, but it's a space Hulk, but it's actually just a space Hulk, but it's in Star Wars?
Yo,
I mean-
dog. I heard you like Hulk.
Space Hulk
We have
in,
Hulk at
in
home.
Shatterpoint.
Just have Hulk at all. So one of the questions I had is, in Shatterpoint, each character can only do each action once, correct?
Yeah.
Almost
Right.
have like an ability that lets them like do something extra. So it seems like the Jedi's can move twice because they can
Because they have
use
a
the
force
midichlorians
jump with sun.
in their little toes.
Usually. Yeah.
That is where midichlorians normally
Don't even
gather.
That's
It's
where
a-
they gather because of gravity, right?
Yep.
Because it goes down to their little toesies.
I think so. So it's like usually when a Jedi sleeps, they actually wrap wet socks around their feet to help the midichlorians gather there. It slows them down even further. Because what happens if you're a Jedi and you're laying flat, right? You're used to gravity bringing the midichlorians to the heels and balls of your feet. But when you lay flat, they spread out more, and then you have midichlorians in your spinal column and your shoulder blades and kind of a bunch
You don't
of that.
want to.
Dan just left straight up.
I just turned off my camera.
You don't.
That,
you don't
that
wanna-
ruined everything on the stream, by the
Oh,
way.
what
so-
happened? What did Dr. D go to?
Well, Dan, not only are you not John PCN, you are now not John PCN. So you're like in double negatives here,
I
buddy.
didn't think it would
Man.
make Dr. D disappear too.
Thanks. Well, you're both in Discord right now, right? So when you leave one, it reformulates everything. Yeah, it's
I didn't actually leave. I just turned off my camera. I didn't think
All
it
right.
would change formatting. My bad.
there we go. Dr. D did it right before we started because I told him to leave.
He actually left the conversation though.
That's fair. That's fair.
I had my desired effect though. It interrupted that whatever rant you were going
You,
on.
you taught me.
You
No, I get
disrupted
it.
the midichlorians flowing through the dang stream, Dan.
And
You
it's,
big
the
doofus.
you, you really did.
Toes.
You really did. That's why in hyperspace, I'm going to follow up on this, by the way. That's why in
Oh,
hyperspace,
no.
people normally sleep standing up because it keeps the midichlorians in their feet. Because with a lack of gravity, they could be kind of radical agents, dispersing themselves throughout their body. But
Is that why the beds all have like that cone head thing, where
Yeah.
it's just like the perfect imprint of bodies up against
That's
the
why they're
wall?
called the new radicals. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yep. So, yeah. In our world, antioxidants are midichlorians, by the way. So, green tea
Who do
is
you
the way
think?
to get them.
Oh my God.
You know what? Let's start wild speculating about Shatterpoint. Who's gonna be the mags of Space Wars?
Vader.
I think so. I guess he is. Yeah, he is always the character that starts hucking stuff around like a big.
I mean, he
jerk.
kind of already is, but yeah.
It's going to be Wicket.
I can't wait for Wicket. I unironically love Ewoks. I can't wait to play them in that game.
I'm really surprised their primary wasn't like deity C-3PO.
Right?
I'm surprised that wasn't a primary.
Space God 3PO? Yeah, I like that a lot.
I'm
Okay,
surprised,
put it
they didn't do that already. I mean,
Um,
there is no C-3PO in all the initial announced stuff, right? There was an R2-D2.
There was, yeah,
Yeah,
server
he was taking a
extraordinaire
drink.
R2D2. So that's
You know what? You know what? I'm gonna call it right now. I think the first C-3PO in the game is gonna be him being carried around by Chewbacca in the cloud. There's gonna
On
be like
his
a cloud
back?
city box. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet that'll be the
love
Han. I bet that's the one Han will be in. Because I don't think they showed Han's box, right? They just showed his like render.
Yeah.
You know what? I think Ben brings up a great point in chat where the Magneto of Shatterpoint is going to be Cad Bane. Just an absolute bamf. Right?
Well,
He's-
no, I'm saying like you're playing the game, right? And you're like, man, I sure am happy to be here. And then you get hit in the face with a car.
Right? Cad Bane shoots cars out of his gun, I'm pretty certain. I haven't
Yeah,
watched the
that's
Clone
definitely a
Wars,
Vader's
but I'm
thing
like
more than anybody.
90% certain that's one of
Say
his things.
what? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Man, I gotta
Car
read
gun.
more books. I gotta
You
read
do.
classic,
get learned.
classic Cad Bane and his silly little car gun. What was I thinking?
before we
gun.
get too far off
Yeah.
topic here, just really quick, once again, professionalcasual.com is a great place to go to find all of our podcasts. We do a lot of actual plays, including Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Pathfinder 2nd Edition. You can even check out some of them big chuckers over at Elite 8 Showdown. The comic book rundown is part of the network as well. There's probably going to be a couple more things being added to our rank and files here very soon. But Dylan also just wrote a blog. Some might say yesterday. It wasn't. It was a week
Yeah.
ago, but it came out yesterday about continuing his path to the worthy. And he's been just an incredible source of information, especially if you have ever maybe had some anxiety about painting and didn't know how to do certain things. He has a very conceptually graspable humor and flow style in those blogs that just I enjoy reading them even though I don't know what paint is or is it brushes or brushes? I don't know how to pronounce it. I've only read it. I've never heard the word.
Well,
Bruches.
as long as you know what it is, it's those things you use on your teeth every morning, on your toofers.
Oh, a stick of cinnamon.
Yeah, it's cinnamon stick.
Okay.
That's how you say it in French.
That's,
In the mom.
but but we really appreciate everyone out there, especially our patrons and everyone here on Twitch that has helped us with bits redemptions and Amazon Prime subs and regular subs and gift subs. We absolutely rely on it, so we really appreciated that. Especially our King Ding Doppelgangers and our professional cake sitters over at patreon.com/professional casual. Not only do they get podcasts a week early, not only do they get video for all of our actual plays, not only do they get to check out the cleanup phase, our once a month behind the scenes Marvel Crisis Protocol and more live stream, there's a lot there to gather. But those King Dean Doppelgangers and those professional cake sitters, especially people like Xpaxis, Bastion, Rob, Tony Hot Hands, Dr. D, Devil Pup, Dagna, Leroy, Bicon, Cider Drinker, Iron Maze, Wizard Skills, Otis, Charles,
13, that's 4,
Tisdale.
15.
I think that's all of them.
How many? I think that was 15. How many other?
Yeah, there's 13 cake sitters, and there are 2 King Ding Doppelgangers. Nope,
You
I'm
forgot
missing
the
one
most-
because I keep mentioning Bastion. So that means there is one out there still. It's not Cider Drinker or Otis, said Devil Pup, said Dagna, said Dr. D, said Tony Hot Hands, said Leroy, said Bicon, said Otis, said Cider Drinker again, said Bastion, Rob, and Xpaxis, said Charles, said Tisdale, said Iron Maze, said Wizard Skills. Oh, they're going to be elusive.
Probably Dan.
No.
No.
I contribute other ways.
Correct. Yeah. But guys, we really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much.
For
Make sure
real.
to join us Tuesday, where Dan and I are probably going to fight over who gets to play Hellfire Club on, the Power Phase, our live Marvel Crisis Protocol battle reports that we do from Bearded Dragon Games.
Spoiler alert. I was planning on playing Midnight Suns.
Oh, uh-oh. Yeah, I'm probably playing Crime Syndicate now that I think about it.
Yep.
Are you going to use only characters from the video game?
Which one? Oh, Midnight Suns? Oh,
The Midnight Suns video game?
You got a
That was
huge,
a video game,
huge list
duh.
to pull from there. Oh, that's right. That is a great point. Normally, the first stream after a event, we replay poorly the winners of said event. So I don't think we're going to be running Ben's roster. So Dan will probably get to run Hellfire Club because he'll, I think, be in the finals. And then,
Clearly, I'm going to get my qualifier right away.
right? And maybe
Second chance, actually.
maybe I'll be playing Dylan's Hellfire Club, except I just remembered he won't be there. So
I'm not going to
gonna
beat that
say.
one. I'll be at the next one.
If we
All
could
right.
win that without going, that'd be really impressive.
all right, Otis, I'm pulling for you. I want to run Sentinels on Tuesday. So let's get this done.
He did throw shade at you, Ben. Heavy
Alright.
shade.
Everyone
Whoa,
in the
whoa,
chat and
whoa.
listening to this at home, don't do it while you're driving, please. Put both hands up in the air. Put your energy into it. Let's give Otis the spirit bomb he needs,
Mhm.
even though it'll be after it happened. But do it anyway.
Yeah. No, I wasn't saying that you weren't going to win it.
Retroactive.
I just assumed that you would probably elect to have somebody else win the qualifier because you're already qualified. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't say that you would like pull your punches because I've seen you play against your wife in a tournament, but
You've been on the receiving end of a slap. with a
right. I
tortilla.
have. It was supposed to be a slap. It did feel like a very closed fist. It left a mark as if it was a very closed fist as well. But happens to the best of us. But guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. If you're in the Syracuse area, come to the art store this Saturday, hang out with us, play some MCP. It's going to be a great time. Also, real quick, I've been running and playing The Cycle Frontier Tuesday through Friday. It's been an absolute blast. If you're interested in that game at all, it is free to play. It's on Steam. It is a sci-fi extraction shooter. I stream it every day, Tuesday through Friday, 3 p.m. Wednesday, I'll be running with people from chat. So if you want to get into it, maybe you're having some trouble getting some extracts or whatever, Wednesday will be the day where I'll be cycling through anyone that wants to play duos and trios. But guys, thank you. I love you. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.